London and maybe Paris, among other colonial powers. On the same note, maybe someone will allude to the fact that religion may also have been brought to serve the very purpose. So, what do we do with this religion? Because it's a very thorny issue and very emotive. We cannot talk to our parents about religion or even some people in these spaces without being offended. What do we do with these issues of God? That is the first question. We need to figure out how to deal with it so that the revolution can be without any encumbrances. Moving forward, we've also noted that, as you alluded, this revolution and the movement will not be perfect, and there will be a few problems in between. However, you were adamant that when the revolution is complete, we do away with the current system as it were, be it the executive, the legislature, as well as the judiciary. What do we do with those who are in the system? However, their only mistake is that they're in the system, but they may not be as bad as the system, since we are already agree that the system, as it were, is not perfect. Do we drain the swamp, as Marge had stated, or are we going to be selective in our ways of dealing with those who may have to join us as a team? Then, lastly, you yourself, you voted for the current regime, and you had given your own, you qualified your support for the team, and why maybe you needed to do that, and that was personal, and I think that's fair enough. There are those who voted for this regime because they believed in this regime, not to punish the other one, not to show that they needed they could actually vote the president out, but they actually believed in the philosophy. They believed in everything that this government stands for. Some of them are here, and they have now tried to hijack the movement, and they're in the movement. What do we do with them? Do we say they've changed their hearts? Are they now really a part of the team, or are we still draining the swamp altogether? We don't let them be closer to the movement. Then there are those voices that may also try to slow down the movement. What do you do with that? I will leave it at that. Thank you so much, Madge. Bye.
Thanks. Let's pick the questions and then we check. Hillary will be checking with the general how much more minutes. Evelyn,
I will check that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Evelyn, Gideon, and then Dr. Henry. Evelyn? Okay. Gideon?
Okay. How is everyone in the group? It's good to join the group, though I've been a bit late. I was in a lot of traffic jam, but finally I'm here. But I want just to maybe ask just a question, or maybe just express my feelings about the unions we do have in Kenya. Like what exactly, we know the role of KOTU, but it seems that lately we don't have functioning unions. Like KOTU has really let us down. What can we also speak about this? What can we see?
So Gideon, may I defy your question to another session? I know it's very important. Actually, some people would argue that Atuoli is the Ugandan, is the Museveni of the, because he's always there and things. So let's just divert that to another session and stick to the topic. We're going to have a follow-up session, kindly. So Dr. Henry?
Hello. Thank you very much. Mine is just to thank you, everybody who is on the panel tonight, especially Dr. Miguna, who was resurfaced. We have had these panels before, but this is my first time to attend Marge and Hillary's panel. Mine tonight is just to try, I'm not going to ask questions, but just to give encouragement and say that this week was my first time in my life to say in reality that I couldn't be prouder to be Kenyan, because our children have made me proud. I'm so happy. Miguna has been to places where I've been, Kamiti, Naivasha. We left Africa in different ways. I was escorted on the plane in Dar es Salaam by the Swedish ambassador, and she said she will make sure I'm on the plane because she doesn't trust African presidents. Now, I keep on repeating this because I want to remind you guys, we have a big fight. It has not started yet. Ruto is at his most dangerous now. And the enemy is not Ruto, as I keep on telling you. There is somebody behind a large organization. Right now, they're rearranging their plans. We don't know what they're going to come up with. There's going to be a lot of problems. We can say which way forward now, but we have not reached there yet. The hardest hurdle is going to come in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The army is there. We don't know what they are planning to do. Somebody's planning maybe to just give us a surprise in Kenya. Expect anything to happen. It might be martial law. I don't know whether you have touched that. If the army comes up and they take over, what do? Do we keep on our children marching in the streets even after there is martial law? All these things we have to think about. And we who are outside, please, let's not stop appealing to the international community just to keep pressure. We know that many of them, East and West, we are on our own. Africa doesn't have a friend. We have people who depend on our poverty in order to survive. We don't have any friends, East or West. The Chinese, the Russians, the Caucasians in the West, all of them look at us as a means of survival. All that I need to ask you guys is, there is no government in Kenya right now. Anybody who has got eyes to see can see. It's the army that is the government. Ruto is hiding behind the army. What is going to happen if the army is withdrawn from the streets? There's going to be mayhem. There's going to be a vacuum if Ruto leaves. And who takes over? I'm looking at the possibility of a uniform. Somebody in uniform coming and taking over. And there are people who are very, very specialized in installing people in Africa and supporting them, saying, we want stability, we want peace. I don't know where we are heading to, but guys, I want to give you encouragement. Let's be strong. Let's be strong at this time, because this is the time that people are arranging their cards, and these people are dangerous. These people are dangerous, okay? God bless Kenya. God bless you guys. And may you keep the fight alive until our children are free. Thank you.
Wafula, thank you so much. Anna, your question really marries with what Wafula is talking about. Please ask the questions, and then General can take over. Evelyn, I gave you the mic, but you aren't able to speak. If you're able to speak, try to give me a signal. Anna, please. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Marge, and my apologies. Yes, Miguna, Daktari, my question is really wasn't for me. I wanted a lot of Kenyans to understand. Maybe if you could explain it more, because the question is burning, because people think it just ends with Ruto. It doesn't end with Ruto, as you've clearly said. It's about the whole system. So I wanted maybe if you could touch base on the severity of the Western infiltrating our system, and how they've set the system to be against each and every Kenyan. And no matter which person we put there, unless we correct the system, it's going to happen. And for instance, how worse it's getting after each and every person is elected, it seems the system gets worse and worse. And where we are now, some people might think it's a good thing that even if Ruto goes, but Kenya has become the non-NATO member allied to America. So I just wanted you to a little bit touch on that, but thank you much.
Thanks, Anna. And before Daktari goes, I would like to, because when we're trying to amplify messages, sometimes it's the numbers. So do continue building a network. Follow each other. Follow the host, the co-host, the speakers. Look left and right and follow each other. Because when you have that important message that you want amplified, it's good when you have people to amplify it. And if you are tagging probably somebody who has a lot of following but is in the pockets of the people, then they're not going to amplify it. And then after that, I would like Wanjiru to request you to take over the queuing as we proceed. Daktari, are you ready, or should we ask more questions?
Marge, just one quick one before we proceed. And it's a quick question for the general. Now that we have talked about the National Transitional Authority, and we've been leaderless, faceless, tribeless, isn't it time to start now figuring out how to establish a way of bringing the message, not only bringing the message together, bringing it home so that we can be unified, so that we don't have 10,000 requests, number one, and number two, just a structure to bring people together so that we can have those 52 people. So that, for me, is what I'm struggling with around the structure and the leadership of that organization going forward.
Okay. Thank you. In 1979, I was in Form 1 in Onjiko Secondary School in Kisumu County. There was a military overthrow in Ghana by a captain called Jerry John Rawlings. He was a very junior officer in the army. He had been arrested and put in jail. And the junior military officers and the country rose up and went and released him from jail, and they overthrew the government that was in power. And when Jerry Rawlings was asked how he managed to do it, being a very junior officer, and it was just a day before he was hanged, and he said, Ghana is like a small room, basically a tinderbox, with gas everywhere. And all that was needed was one person to take a matchbox and strike the matchbox and throw in that little fire in the matchbox, and the whole thing explodes. And that is how he managed to take power. Kenya is exactly in the same state that Ghana was in 1979. Kenya is a small room with gases everywhere, inflammable substances everywhere. And the beauty with our situation is that the person who threw the matchbox is not a guy sitting in jail. It's actually a guy sitting at State House. Who is that? Who is doing?
Okay, somebody had their mic open. Terry, just a moment. I think that was Joe. No, I'm gonna mute. There's somebody who had their mic open. I think they're recording also in parallel.
Yeah, because that's not gonna work. Anyway, yeah. So the person who threw the match, the fire, the little flame of fire, is actually William Samoei Ruto. When we told him withdraw Finance Bill 2024 given to you by IMF, he said, I'm not going to withdraw it. And he sent his goons like David D to insult us, telling us, oh, all you are Twitter activists. Politics is a contact sport. So
digital wankers.
Excuse me? So the Gen Zs had him, and they say, okay, you think we who are tweeting, who are reading, who are on social media are not human beings. We are going to teach you a lesson. So the rest, as they say, is history. But the point is, we cannot turn back. It's too late, even for Ruto. It's too late for everybody. He has to go. I want to reinforce the point that right now, we cannot let Ruto stay in power, because it means we are going to give him a license to come for all of you and send abductors and killer squads. But in one big, huge mass, he cannot stop us. That's number one. Number two, there was a question about what do we do with religion. It's a red herring. Let's not touch these things. Right now, we are not interested in religion and those hiding in churches and in mosques and in other places of worship. Right now, we are interested in transformation of the state, not the transformation of the church. If we transform a secular state and we separate state from religion, the population will deal with the church if they decide to be sacrilegious. Remember, right now, even Ruto's wife himself, they cannot go to church. They cannot go and buy a priest anymore. They have been stopped by the people already. So in a way, we are cleaning the church, but we have to clean the state first. And the moment we clean the state and transform it, the church by its very nature will be transformed. But we don't want to be prescriptive right now about churches, about that's a setup. It's a red herring, and we must avoid it. We focus on our agenda. We have to be disciplined, thoroughly disciplined. Number two, what do we do with the people in the system? I don't know what is understood by the people in the system. Anyone who believes in this system, this bankrupt system, this system that was set up for neocolonial purposes, for extractive purposes, to pauperize Africa, cannot be part of the new dispensation. But if you just happen to be working for the government or for the public, that does not make you culpable for what the government did. That is why I said that one of the solutions was to set up an independent investigative authority that will investigate all malpractices, all questionable land grabbings, corruption, scandals, institutional capture, political assassinations from 1963 to now. That is enough for cleansing and cleaning up the system. We don't have to have parallel or multiple duplicative processes. It will cause confusion, it will waste public funds, and it will cause division. Now, the next one was the issue of, let me just see. I took some notes, so I hope I am going to go through them. Somebody says, for those, what do we do with those who supported the system? I guess it is the same thing. But I wanted to say, you see, a lot of people don't realize that Ruto has no philosophy. Ruto has no ideology. The only ideology that Ruto has is looting and grabbing and terrorizing people so that we can leave him alone to loot. We knew that when we elected him. But we were very clear that we wanted a weak president that we could remove in the event that he continued on his profligate ways. And now he continued. So it's important to exercise our sovereignty and remove him because he pretended that because he suffered under Uhuru a little bit, inconvenience a little bit, that he had reformed. Then you realize that the criminal came out of jail and continued to do or commit more crimes. The reason why in Kenya we have not had institutions that operate is because we've never punished impunity. We've never punished grand corruptors, people who have just sabotaged the system. We have not punished even murderers. It is time that we started doing that. And with this transition, we have to punish them. That way, we will not recycle this kind of organized criminals to be squatting in public space. We will not have them occupy public space. We will send out an example to Kenyans and all over the world that criminality does not pay. That if you steal from the public will punish you. and you will not enjoy that wealth. If you kill or maim like Babu did, or like Baraza did, or like many others have done, including Ruto, that we will punish you severely so that the country and history will record it permanently. Now, somebody said that we should be clear so that we don't have 10,000 requests floating. I was very clear. So as an entire regime must go, they must go now, so that we can reconstitute our state, we can transform our society and construct a new system based on merit, a merit-based system, with a foundation of values of social justice, values of equality, values of equity, values of transparency, values of accountability. These are the foundation stones of a new state. If you have it right and you do it, then you don't have to fear Washington. You don't have to fear anybody. Because if you recall, even in Rwanda, Kagame took power by shooting down a president that was in power. And the whole world went wild. But after 2 weeks, they recognized him and they're doing business with him. These people will do business with us if we transform our system, the same way they did business with Mao Zedong in China, who led China through a revolution. The same way they did business with everybody else, including Sankara, even though they planned for his assassination later. And if you recall, if you have a leader with integrity, who is a revolutionary, who is committed to transforming the system, Sankara managed to turn Upper Volta, now Burkina Faso, into a food secure country in 4 years. He was only in his 30s. We can do it.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Very much.
Yes, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Hilary.
Dr. for that response. I've seen Willis Wakil Willis. Will give you a mic to say also your views on this. Dr. Can you confirm for me that how many minutes do we have? Then we round up.
I think that it is 2:23. Why don't we have another 30 minutes and then
Can we hear from Willis, Hillary?
Yeah, no worries. Well, that's what I'm asking.
I say 30 minutes. 30 minutes.
All right. Thank you
for
so
me.
much. At the top of the hour, we are closing. Dr. I request 35 minutes for us to close it at the top of the hour. That will be good with us. Thank you so much for that. And guys, let us keep it the conversation going on. And this just at the beginning of the conversation. Dr. will be with us all the time to make sure that we push these things forward, and we know that we realize the reality of it at the end of the day. I think the conversation is good, and we are at top of the hour. And I can give the way forward. I know when he will do his last submission, he's gonna give a clear direction of the committee that he was talking about and how to constitute it. I know he talked about the 54 tribes in Kenya, so that we can have 54 representative according to the communities that we have around, but also we want to have a clear way forward so that we have a proper conversation going forward. But I think the clear direction is that the current regime must go. I think that's the way we're going. Willis, go ahead, then Narendri, then Nani Maj.
Peter, could you please probably after Willis, then Peter, because he has something he's doing, and then we go to Narendra. Yeah, Willis, over to you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First, let me thank General for hosting this space and coming out. I've been with General in the trenches when even times were tougher than they are today, in the sense that you are fighting an electoral system that was trying to circumvent the will of the people. And General, as at that time, did show what I'll call extreme brevity in tackling that system. In this particular instance, he's doing it now when the people themselves are claiming their sovereignty. And what General is saying is actually the only way, in my view, that we can get out of this impasse, because the elected representatives have since ceded their representative role, and they're not representing the people at all. And the people are now exercising their sovereignty directly. And the proposal which has been made that we have a transitional mechanism, that is the only way that we can come out of this. Because if we go the route, we attempt the route of trying to talk with William Ruto, in my view, you'll be going back to his system. You will actually be strengthening him. You will be donating back to him the power that the people have taken away from him and illegitimized him. So a transitional mechanism will ensure that the people have a stopgap measure that oversees a process that will lead them to donate back their sovereignty, or part of it, so to speak, when the time comes. And it's important that we maintain the pressure. William Ruto, where he sits, in my view, is actually now very weak. He doesn't have popular support. In fact, he has no support at all across the country. And he will try to do everything possible to undermine the collective universe of the people that is trying to fully get him out of office and exercise their sovereignty directly. So it is important that those of us who are in this space, we understand that we are dealing with a former lion that has since now been wounded and is limping, and he will do everything possible to try to claw back and assert himself as the executive. One thing we must note is that in any conversation that you go and have with William Ruto, you will only be strengthening him. You will not in any way be strengthening the people of Kenya. Any conversation that we must have with William Ruto should be a conversation when he's out, or we have a date when our next election is going to be held, for the people to be able to choose that new group that they want to lead them. And more importantly, part of that conversation, again, should be you cannot go back to Parliament to tell Parliament, can you constitute for us an IEBC? The danger with that is that all these members have lost legitimacy. And any process that involves them, they are going to start that process by giving you a team that will give you an election that undermines how your vote is going to be exercised. I think mine was just to thank General and to share my 2 cents contribution, and to urge General and all other Kenyans who are like-minded to continue on this space. There is no country in the world that has ever recalled its sovereignty like we have done in Kenya at this particular point. And we cannot let anybody else down if we decide to